Hey everyone, this is Talks with Kenny, and here I'm going to redirect it to Tariq Nasheed, who claims that he is fighting for reparations for foundational black people. Foundational black people is essentially, it's a slang word, not slang, sorry. It's his way of saying ADOS, which is an American descendant of slaves. So essentially, if you have any, if you're a descendant of a slave, then he's fighting for your reparations. He's not fighting for just because you're a minority group, right? So I'm the first generation American, so technically I don't apply for these reparations at all. And I'm just giving you my thoughts why I believe no one should be paying reparations. Let's get into the video.
Okay, let's get you to buy in on this, and then later you're watching like the Asians like just collect all the millions, right?
So reparations, they got to do reparations specifically for foundational black Americans.
How do they tell who's foundational?
That's what we're doing out here in California. They have a reparations committee that we've been on their bumper, and we made sure that they made it lineage-based because there were people trying to make it race-based so they can just give it to any black person who was harmed by racism.
Now, I have a disagreement with the harm by racism line because no black person in 2022, and let's push back to in the early 2000s. To me, America is less racist than it was in the past. There's no law that targets you based on your race, right? So that throws systematic racism out of the window. What harm by racism is he talking about? Is it someone's perception of you? Someone didn't like you because of your skin color? How much of a difference does that make really in your life? Eternally, your choice, your own personal choices have more impact on you than any racist ever will. It's almost like they're trying to go in your brain, and if you don't like them because of their skin color, then it has some type of power over you. And that's the kind of thing I want to kind of push back on in the black culture, that we give white people too much power over us. Like, we don't see them as equal. Like, just like I see another black dude, I'm like, yo, that's how I see another white dude. Like, you can't, there's nothing you could do that I can't do. Like, you know what I mean? There's nothing I can't do that you can't do. That's how I see it. I'm consistent. Like, I believe black people can be racist because I believe I'm created equal. Racism only accounts for 4% of problems in my life, honestly. I can count like on my hand when I think racism could have been the issue, because I consider race last. When something wrong happens, like when something doesn't go my way, I consider race last, not first. And I think a lot of black people, and especially in the black culture, it's cool to think of race first. Oh, it's racism. This is why I didn't get the job, because the manager was racist. No, you probably didn't have the qualification to get the job. I just see it as like the type of boogeyman that black people just fall on to just so they can excuse any responsibility on themselves. And that, I'm a big component of personal responsibility. Like, if you do for yourself, there's no excuse. Like, hey, you fail, get better. You didn't fail, you learned that day. Like, you get me? Like, so this harm by racism, I don't agree with harm. Like, I don't believe most black people in this country is harmed by racism. That's just my opinion. If you disagree, you disagree, but that's just how I'm seeing it right now.
That's very dangerous, because if you do that, you allow other immigrant groups to come in. So now Hispanics can say, well, I was harmed by racism, I need to get in on that too. You got to make it lineage based.
Let me ask you a question. So two people who one came from Trinidad, one came from Haiti. Mm-hmm. They've been here since the 90s. They had a kid. The kid's now 30. Mm-hmm. The kid says, all I know is here. Mm-hmm. I need some of that reparation money.
No, because he's not a descendant of slaves in America. He's not a foundational black American.
Okay, so he's not saying that if you experience racism, you get reparations. He's saying that if you're a descendant of slaves, you get reparations. And I have a problem with that, because you didn't take the whips, you didn't take the lashes, right? You weren't subjective to the mistreatment known in history. You wasn't in Africa when they hunted you out of your hut and your tribe and they enslaved you to sell you to the white man so you can come here to America. Like, that wasn't you. That was your ancestor. And you benefiting off his suffering. That don't look good to me. Like, oh, I got this money because I happen to be a descendant from someone that went through horror, like treated like property. I didn't get treated like property though. So why should you benefit off of something you never went through? It's like someone getting money that they didn't earn. Like, oh, here's $1 million. Oh, why are you giving me $1 million? Oh, just because you're my nephew. And what happens with people who tend to get money that way? They squander it. They'll lose it, and then they'll come back to you for more. And that's what's going to happen with this reparations stuff. Because I bet you, if you give them reparations, like, honestly, have we not learned from the stimulus check? You saw what happened when we got the stimulus check. Everyone was happy for the stimulus check, and then what happened? Inflation. You saw whatever you get easy, you suffer long term. Like they say, if you I forgot the saying. The saying is, if you do what's easy, your life will be hard, and if you do what's hard, your life will be easy. And this is the easy way out. It's gonna be inflation through the roof. If you guys get rich, especially $20 trillion. The largest bill that they passed for stimulus check was like $2.4 trillion. And you asking for 10 times that. I'm a realist. That don't sound realistic to me.
Foundational Black American Reparations claim is a specific claim about slavery. See, this is not a claim about racism, okay? If we want to have a reparations thing about racism, that's a whole different claim. We're talking about something that happened to a specific group of people. We were enslaved in this country and we were never compensated for it.
And they passed on. So you shouldn't get compensated in their place. That don't make sense to me. How are you going to tie down 4 million? Because there's only 4 million slaves in America, I believe. That's documented. So you're going to have 4 million people, not 4 million people, but you have to trace not a white slave owner, honestly, because not all slave owners were white. You're going to have to find all the slave owners, their descendants, and tie the reparations to them. Because the government ain't going to pay for this stuff, because the government is funded by all of America, and all of America wasn't a slave owner. And y'all gonna find some dark secrets y'all ain't like, because reparations is gonna come majority, if not all, will come from the Democratic Party. Kamala Harris is a descendant of a slave owner. Barack Obama is a descendant of a slave owner. The Republicans were the one that freed the slaves. There was no Republican leader that owned a slave. So all that reparation money is going to come from the Democrats. You think the Democrats is going to let you guys have reparations? That's political suicide for them. They need y'all for votes, and they're not going to risk that. They're going to act like they're going to half-ass and try. They're like, oh, here's dangling the carrot on the stick. The closest thing you guys will probably get to reparations is like a stimulus check type of thing. But $20 trillion as a starting point? Oh no, you're going to get talked down real quick, because the Green New Deal was about what, $4 trillion, and you saw how crazy we went over that, because the taxpayers will have to suffer. That means all the taxes that I pay, and you're gonna wrap up everybody involved, and everyone's gonna be like, I'm Asian, I wasn't part of this. I may be white, but my family immigrated from Europe. I'm not part of this. You're gonna see the pool of who's gonna be paying that going smaller and smaller and smaller, because there's only a small proponent of people that was actually had the wealth to own slaves in America back then. And there's only 4 million of y'all. I see a lot of the money just being cut. Like it ain't gonna be as big as y'all think it is. It probably gonna be like $5, and then the people gonna be like, "Hey, racist. We solved the crime. No more racism. You can't use the race card anymore. Done." I don't think y'all like that. So
need that group compensated. You can tell who's a foundational Black American. You go back to the 1870 census. If you can trace your lineage back to that census, you're a foundational Black American. Also, you have to be classified as Black for the last 10 years. That's another thing too, because white people will try to say, well, hell, look I got a great grandfather who was a slave, and they're white now. You know what I'm saying? They'll try to.
So Obama went. So you think so? Based on that logic, I mean, I don't know how Obama's identified. I see him as biracial. So, are you gonna let him off the hook with reparations, or are you gonna pay him reparations? Because, but Obama, no, Obama's gonna pay reparations because his dad, I believe, is from Africa, and they're the ones that made y'all slaves in the first place. So he's gonna pay. He's definitely gonna pay reparations. Him and Kamala.
Yeah, they've been trying to pull that type of game. No, your ass gonna sit down somewhere. Yeah.
So you're making sure there's nobody's gonna come in finesse.
None of that. No finesse. No Rachel Dolezals. No Justin Timberlakes, and none of that fake shit. So yeah, you have to be classified as Black. I wanted to go further. You have to have Negro, Black, or colored on your birth certificate. I wanted to go there.
But wait, you do know, like, within, the Black community, there's been a lot of culture mixing and a lot of, mixing. Like, for example, you might have somebody who's a foundational Black American who then had three kids with three women, and one might be from the islands, one might be, from Africa, whatever. Like, who cares? You know what I mean? But how do you figure out who to really give if do they have to be of pure blood?
And this is one of the main reasons, because reparations was in the first. This isn't the first time reparations been brought up. This is the main issue with reparations, is the fact that is the auditing. Like, how do you track what and where, right? You got to go like the census. The census is pretty accurate, but to document 4 million slaves, where they went, whatever, get me some data. Because remember, I don't think slaves had names. I mean, they did, but they didn't. They weren't treated as people. They were treated as property. So even then is vague. Maybe, and even the 4 million number that I'm projecting, that may not even be accurate. It may be even less or higher, whatever. How the hell you gonna trace all these people? Because there's a lot of people who think, oh, I'm ADOS, and then they gonna find out they weren't ADOS. They found out their family immigrated here after emancipation. They gonna be like, damn, all this time I thought I was ADOS. Like, I don't know. It ain't gonna end well, honestly. Well, I don't agree with reparations at all, because it's like getting paid for work you didn't do. And also there's the inflation aspect of it as well. There's also the fact that realistically I don't think it's going to happen. He's asking for $20 trillion. $20 trillion. Imagine that. Where he's going to get that money from? Only 1% of, in my opinion, right? From research that I did, right? There's only 4 million slaves. You had to have substantial wealth to take care of these slaves. Only 1% of America at the time had owned slaves. That means only 1% of America is a descendant of a slave owner. They ain't gonna get 20 trillion from 1% of people, because you don't know how generations work. One generation was rich back in the day, and then by the third generation they're poor. Like, the money ain't, you can't, $20 trillion. There's no way in hell you're gonna find that money. There's no way. And you're going to make inflation go off the roof with 20 trillion. Because you saw what happened. The stimulus check was only like, what? The first one was like 1.9, maybe, if I remember correctly. They were under, the stimulus package was under $4 trillion. And you see how inflation is killing us right now, 8.6%. And that's just in general. If you go specific, it's even worse. Imagine that, but times 10. Oh, no. That's suicide almost. You're gonna cause a recession after they pass the reparations. I don't think it's a good idea. But honestly, it's just me. It's just my opinion. It's just my views. If you can disagree with me here, I have no problem. Like you, but I don't think it's likely. Especially what I mentioned about the Democrats. You guys vote for them for 50 years. They're not risking this with this reparations crap. I think the most they'll do is give you like a stimulus check type of thing. But even then, I don't think that's probable. But let me guys know what you think in the comment section below. Like and subscribe and be safe. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.